The space station floated quietly above the gray world below. Inside, dozens of alien species trained side by side. This station was built for peace, for learning, and for testing strength in controlled combat. It was a place where soldiers from different planets learned how to fight together. Among them was a human named Kai. He was not big like the armored soldiers from the Korak Empire. He didn't have wings like the Avarine or sharp claws like the Teth. Kai was quiet, wore simple clothes, and worked as an engineer. Most of the others didn't even know he had training in hand-to-hand combat. They just thought he was the human who fixed things. Commander Viewership, on the other hand, was famous on the station. She was tall, with silver armor that wrapped tightly around her strong frame. Her species, the Volari, were proud warriors. Their bodies were made for battle. Their traditions were built on strength. And Viewership was one of the best. She had beaten every opponent in the sparring ring. When she walked by, people stepped aside. Her name echoed in the training halls, always followed by stories of her unbeatable moves. She believed no one outside her species could match her in strength, especially not a human. One morning the announcement was made, open sparring challenge at midday. Any two fighters could face off in front of the station crew. It was a monthly event. Viewership always joined. And this time something surprising happened. Kai has accepted the challenge, the announcement said over the speaker. At first everyone thought it was a mistake. Viewership raised one brow. The engineer? The human? She laughed. Maybe he wants to test his bones. Kai was sitting quietly at a table in the common area. He simply nodded. Yes, I'll fight. The news spread fast. Everyone gathered in the training hall. The circle was marked. The rules were clear. No weapons, no energy boosters, and no help from the outside. Just raw strength and skill. Kai stepped in, wearing a simple black training suit. No armor, no helmet, just calm eyes and steady hands. Viewership entered like a thunderstorm. Her armor clicked with every step. She wore a training shield over her chest and arms as required, but even so she looked massive beside the human. You have a death wish? She asked, standing over him. No, Kai replied. Just wanted to see something. Viewership sneered. You'll feel pain instead. The crowd around the circle was buzzing. Some aliens were already joking. Others looked confused. A few were silent, curious. The match began. Viewership didn't wait. She charged forward, fast and strong. Her arm raised high, glowing faintly with built-up kinetic energy. It was her signature move, a single crushing blow that had ended matches in seconds. Her opponents usually fell or flew out of the ring from the force, but not Kai. As the strike came down, he moved slightly, just enough. His legs bent, arms raised, palms open. Time felt slow for the watchers. Crack, her blow landed, right on Kai's arms. But he didn't fall. He blocked it. Dust lifted around their feet. The ground under Kai's boots cracked. But he stood firm. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes remained locked on hers. Gasps filled the room. Even the trainer monitoring the match leaned forward in disbelief. Viewership stepped back. Her face twisted in surprise. That was my strongest hit, she said. Kai simply exhaled. I know. She blinked, unsure whether to feel insulted or impressed. Kai didn't attack. He stood still, in calm balance. His breathing was slow and steady. What kind of human are you? She finally asked. One who trained quietly while everyone else laughed, he replied. Viewership's pride didn't let her stay still. She swung again, aiming for his side. Kai stepped back, turned, and gently guided her arm away. The motion was smooth like water. For the next minute, the two moved in the circle. Viewership's style was aggressive, heavy. Kai's was fluid, light. He didn't try to hurt her. He didn't need to. With each block, each step, he made it clear. He could fight. He could last. And he could stand toe-to-toe with one of the strongest warriors in the station. The trainer called an end to the match. No winner, no injury. But the message was clear. As the crowd left the hall, murmurs filled the air. He blocked her strongest hit. Did you see how he moved? That human isn't normal. Viraya stood in the center of the ring, staring at Kai's back as he walked away. She didn't know what confused her more, the fact he had blocked her, or the fact he didn't gloat about it. He didn't seek glory. He just wanted to prove something. And now, Viraya couldn't stop thinking about it. Viraya couldn't sleep that night. In her mind, she kept replaying the moment, the loud impact, the stillness of the crowd, the calm on Kai's face when her strongest blow hit, and was stopped. That had never happened before. She sat alone in the training hall long after others had left. Her fists were clenched, her armor placed beside her. A training dummy stood in front of her, dented from an earlier strike. Blocked. By a human, she muttered. She didn't hate Kai. No, she was confused, curious. The Volari were proud, warriors. From the time they could walk, they trained their bodies and minds to fight. They lived by rules of strength. But Kai was different. He didn't show off. He didn't flex. He didn't roar when the match ended. He just stood there. And now Viraya wanted to know why. The next morning, Kai returned to his usual duties. He worked in the lower section of the station, fixing circuits and adjusting coolant systems. Nothing fancy. Just quiet work with wires, tools, and metal panels. When he entered the supply room, he wasn't expecting Viraya to be waiting. She stood there, arms crossed, watching him closely. Kai blinked. Need something? Yes, she said. Answers. He smiled slightly and picked up a coil of wires. About what? You blocked my strongest strike. No Volari warrior would have stood after that. You didn't even move much. Are all humans like you? Kai thought for a moment. Then he sat on a nearby crate and said, No, not all. But many of us learn to fight different. Not through size, through timing, balance, and patience. Viraya tilted her head. That's not strength. He looked up. Isn't it? I'm still standing. That's what strength is. Staying up when everyone expects you to fall. That quiet answer made her pause. She had trained with hundreds of warriors, faced brutal combat simulations, and carried scars from real wars. But no one had ever said it like that. Still, she didn't want to be impressed, not yet. She said, You didn't win. Kai nodded. Wasn't trying to. Then why fight at all? I needed to remind people, he replied, standing again. Humans aren't as weak as we look. Word about the match continued to spread. On the station's network, small clips of the fight began to circulate, recorded by someone in the crowd. It showed Viraya's strike, the impact, Kai's stance, the way the floor cracked but he didn't fall, the way he held her arm for a second, redirecting her strength. Suddenly, officers, soldiers, and even station scientists started paying attention. Some were impressed. Others were unsure. And a few, like Captain Darrow, were concerned. We don't need humans thinking they can show off, he told his team. Keep an eye on that one. Quiet strength is still strength. Back in the training hall, Kai was sparring with a four-armed alien named Torvek, practicing footwork and defensive movements. Viraya watched from a distance. She wasn't ready to admit it, but she was learning something just by watching him move. He didn't waste energy. Every step was calculated. His eyes stayed sharp, but his body relaxed. Like water, not steel. After the session ended, Viraya approached him again. You don't strike first, she said. No, I wait, Kai answered. Why? Because sometimes letting someone come at you tells you everything you need to know. Viraya frowned. You sound like an old monk, not a fighter. Kai smiled. My grandfather taught me that. He was a soldier. Old Earth Wars. Said strength isn't just in the body. It's in the choice not to use it unless needed. Viraya had never met a human elder. In her culture, the old warriors were still strong and still fought, but now she wondered maybe wisdom could be stronger than fists. Later that evening, the emergency lights on the station flickered red. An alert buzzed through the halls. Security breach in Cargo Bay 3. Unauthorized ship docked. All security. Teams report immediately. Chaos broke out. Everyone grabbed weapons. Officers ran through corridors. Kai was on his way to the reactor room when the alarm hit. He paused, listened, then turned around. Varela met him halfway, already suited up in partial armor. "I'm going to Cargo Bay 3, she said. "I'm coming with you," Kai replied. "You're not security," she said, almost protective. "I've repaired those doors. I know how to seal or open them fast. You'll need me." She hesitated, then nodded. "Fine, stay behind me." But he didn't. The cargo bay was dark, lights flickering. A group of space raiders, rough, lawless beings, from unaligned systems had forced entry. They had weapons, masks, and were shouting orders, searching for valuables or fuel. Varela stepped in first, shield up, sword activated. Kai followed, crouching behind cover, analyzing the systems around them. 5 raiders, 2 near the fuel. "Tanks," he whispered. "I'll draw attention," she said. "You get the door controls, trap them." Varela rushed forward, shouting in her native tongue, slamming into the nearest attacker. Her blade met theirs, metal ringing through the bay. Sparks flew. Kai moved along the wall, quietly opening a panel. His fingers moved fast over the wires. 2 raiders turned toward him. One raised a plasma pistol. Before they could fire, Kai ducked, rolled, and hit the release button. A security barrier slammed down between him and the attackers. They were trapped on one side, shocked and confused. Varela handled the rest. She was a storm of motion, her movements fast and strong, but smarter than before. She used the space around her, echoing some of Kai's movements from training. When it was over, all 5 raiders were either unconscious or contained. Later, as cleanup crews arrived and lights returned to normal, Varela turned to Kai. "You were right," she said. "About what?" "Strength comes in many forms," she replied, "and humans have more than we gave them credit for." Kai simply nodded. "We all have something to offer." This time, Varela didn't argue. She just smiled. And in that quiet moment, she no longer saw him as a weak species. She saw him as a warrior. The next morning, the station buzzed with excitement and confusion. Word of the raider attack spread quickly, but what really caught everyone's attention was who helped stop it. Not a battle squad. Not an elite team. A human. Kai's name was now spoken in places where it had never been mentioned before. Security halls, command rooms, and even the officer mess area. Some praised him for saving lives. Others whispered in disbelief. And a few didn't like it at all. Commander Varela, however, walked the halls with a quiet smile. She had fought beside him. She had seen his calm thinking, his brave steps, and his clever tricks with the station's systems. He wasn't just strong in body. He was strong in mind. She hadn't expected to respect a human. But now she did. Varela found Kai in the cafeteria, sitting alone with a small meal in front of him. He wasn't one to sit with crowds. He liked peace. She walked over and sat across from him. "You fixed the cargo bay security system," she said. He looked up and smiled slightly. "I fixed it weeks ago, just used it last night." She nodded. "You also saved 2 crew members hiding behind the crates." "I saw them. I couldn't let the raiders find them." Varela looked around the room. Some were still staring at them, whispering. She didn't care. "I wanted to ask something," she said. "Go ahead." "Why do you stay quiet when people talk down to you? You never fight back with words, you just listen." Kai took a sip of water before answering. "Because words don't change minds. Actions do." Varela leaned back, thinking about his answer. She remembered how many times she had mocked him. And yet, he never insulted her. Never raised his voice. Still, he had earned her respect, without even trying. Later that day, the station commander called for an emergency meeting. Officers, trainers, and specialists gathered in the briefing hall. A hologram showed a new threat, A larger group of raiders, this time with warships. They were heading toward the station's path. Estimated arrival: 3 days, the AI voice said. The station was not made for full-scale war. It had small defense systems, but no real battle units. It was a place for training and learning. Captain Darrow stood up and said, "We need to prepare. Everyone must train, even the engineers." He looked at Kai, pausing for a second. "Even him?" Kai didn't flinch. "I'm ready." After the meeting, Varela caught up to him. "You'll fight again?" she asked. "If it protects others, yes," Kai replied. She folded her arms. "Then train with me." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to spar again?" "No. I want to learn your style, the balance, the patience. I've relied only on strength, for too long. Now I want more." Kai was surprised, not by her request, but by the honesty in her voice. She was sincere. She wasn't mocking him. She was asking to learn from him. "All right," he said. "Let's start this evening." That night, in the quiet of the training hall, Kai stood in the circle, barefoot and calm. Varela faced him, no armor, just training gear. He showed her how to move with the ground, not against it, how to breathe through motion, how to use the opponent's force instead of blocking it with raw strength. Varela struggled at first. Her body wanted to fight the old way, push hard, hit faster, slam through. But Kai guided her, gently correcting her steps, showing her how a soft block could stop a heavy punch. "You don't need to stop every strike," he said. "Sometimes, you guide it away. Let the energy pass." She fell a few times. She growled, but she didn't give up. After an hour, sweat poured from her forehead. Her muscles burned. Kai offered her a towel and a drink. "You're doing better," he said. She took both and nodded. "You're a good teacher." Kai smiled. "You're a good student." They sat down at the edge of the circle, breathing quietly. Varela looked at him and asked, "Were you always this calm?" "No," he said. "I had to learn it. When I was younger, I used to react with anger, but it never helped, so I changed. And now you teach people like me?" "No, I didn't expect to teach anyone, but I'll help whoever wants to learn." Varela looked at her hands. "I mocked you before." "I know. I was wrong." Kai nodded once. "It happens." They both sat in silence, understanding each other without needing more words. Over the next 2 days, something changed on the station. Other warriors came to watch Kai and Varela train. Some laughed at first, but slowly they stopped. Then they joined. A Teth soldier practiced breathing techniques. An Avarine scout tried balance training. A bulky Korak warrior tried redirecting punches instead of swinging wildly. Kai didn't lead them like a commander. He simply helped when asked. And that made them respect him even more. Even Captain Darrow, who once doubted him, started watching from a distance. And through it all, Varela stood beside Kai, not as a rival anymore, but as a teammate. On the third evening, as the stars outside the window shifted and the enemy fleet drew closer, Varela sat alone for a moment, thinking. She had spent her life chasing strength, fighting harder, training longer. But now she realized that true strength was not just in the arm, it was in the heart, the mind, and the choices a warrior made. She had found that strength in a human who never raised his voice, never chased fame, and never gave up. The warning alarms echoed across the station. Enemy fleet approaching. All hands report to assigned stations. Prepare for lockdown. Inside the control room, officers and soldiers moved quickly. Red lights flashed above the doors. Holographic screens showed the incoming raider ships. They were bigger and better armed than anyone had expected. There were 6 of them, forming a triangle pattern, heading straight toward the peaceful training station. The station wasn't built for war, and everyone knew it. Commander Varela stood at the main window, her eyes fixed on the stars. She wasn't afraid, but she wasn't overconfident either. This time, the enemy came ready to destroy. Kai entered the room, wearing light armor. It wasn't flashy, but it was enough to protect him. He had a small tool bag strapped to his side, and a calm expression like always. "Where do you need me?" he asked. Varela turned toward him and said, "We're forming 3 defense teams, but we don't have enough trained soldiers," Captain Darrow added. "You'll lead one team in the East Corridor. You know the layout. Use your brain and keep your people alive." Kai nodded. "I'll do my best." He didn't argue. He didn't question. He just walked out to prepare. The station crew split into teams. Some guarded the control room. Others protected the power core. Kai's team had the toughest job, defending the lower eastern bay, the weakest part of the station. His team included a young Avarine pilot, a nervous communications officer, a heavy-armed Korak warrior, and an old mechanic. None of them were proper soldiers, but they were willing to fight. Kai spoke clearly and simply. "We don't need to be heroes. We just need to slow them down, hold the line, protect each other. That's how we win." The Korak warrior grunted. "You're not afraid?" "I am," Kai answered honestly. "But fear doesn't stop me from standing." Those words gave the others quiet strength. As the enemy ships reached the station, a storm of motion filled space. Laser blasts struck the outer shields. Explosions lit up the windows. Small raider ships broke off from the main fleet and flew straight for docking bays. The station trembled. Varela led her group near the core room. She fought with her usual strength, but now she also used what Kai had taught her. She moved smarter, blocked with balance, and saved energy instead of wasting it. Her opponents noticed the change, and so did her own soldiers. One alien soldier whispered, "She's fighting like the human." At the Eastern Bay, Kai's team faced their first wave. 3 raiders burst through the emergency hatch. They were loud, armed, and ready for an easy fight. But Kai was waiting. He dropped a smoke device, confusing them. Then he led his team around the side, using the station's pipes as cover. They moved like a single unit, striking from the shadows. The Korak warrior smashed one raider with a heavy punch. The pilot used a stun rod, and Kai disarmed the last one by knocking the blaster away with a metal rod. Quick, clean, smart. Others stared at Kai. "You're not a soldier," the old mechanic said. "But you lead like one." Kai smiled. "I lead like a human." Back near the command center, Varela faced 2 elite raiders. They were bigger than her, faster too. But she didn't panic. She used their own strength against them, dodging and guiding their attacks. One of them slammed toward her with a charged blade. She stepped aside, turned, and brought her elbow into the raider's chest. He flew backward. The other tried to catch her by surprise, but she rolled forward, used his arm's weight to pull him down and knocked him out cold. The crew around her cheered. Varela looked up for a second and whispered, "Thank you, Kai." Back at the Eastern Bay, a second wave came. More enemies. Heavier weapons. Kai quickly adjusted their defense. "Fall back to the storage room. There's a tight hallway there. Only one can enter at a time." It worked. The tight space gave his team the advantage. They fought bravely. Even the scared communication officer threw punches. But suddenly, the roof above cracked. A raider crashed down from the ceiling, landing right on Kai. The others shouted, thinking he was hurt. But then, something unexpected happened. Kai caught the raider's blade between his palms, just like with Varela. Everyone froze. He pushed back, rolled and kicked the attacker across the room. The human stood up again, breathing heavy but his eyes calm. "You okay?" the mechanic asked. Kai nodded. "Still standing?" Eventually, after long hours of fighting, the station's main gun, powered by its core, fired a massive beam into space. One of the raider ships exploded. The rest pulled back, retreating into the darkness. The station had survived. Barely, but it had survived. Thanks to teamwork, thanks to courage, and thanks to a human who refused to fall. Later in the medical bay, Kai sat on a bench with a bruised shoulder and a tired smile. Varela entered quietly and sat beside him. "You saved that bay," she said. You protected the core, he replied. They both laughed softly. I always thought strength was about hitting hard, Viraya said, but now I know. It's about standing firm, thinking fast, and helping others do the same. Kai looked at her and nodded. Then you've already learned what matters most. She reached out her hand, and he shook it. Not as enemies, not as rivals, but as equals. Warrior to warrior. The space station was quiet now. The red lights had stopped flashing. The sound of weapons, explosions, and shouting was gone. Only the soft hum of the engines and the low voices of workers repairing damaged sections could be heard. Outside the windows, stars twinkled like nothing had happened. But inside, everything had changed. The people on the station had witnessed something they would never forget. A human, calm, quiet, and kind, stood when others expected him to fall. And not only did he stand, he led, protected, and inspired. His name was Kai, and he had earned everyone's respect. In the main hall, a small ceremony was held. It wasn't grand. There were no medals, no big music, just a simple gathering of those who had fought together and survived. Commander Viraya stood in front of the group. She was in her clean uniform, her hair tied back and her voice strong as always. But this time there was something different in her eyes, something softer. She looked at the crew, then at Kai, who stood quietly at the side. Viraya took one deep breath and stepped forward. I used to believe strength was only found in power, she said, in big muscles, heavy weapons, loud commands. She turned her head and looked at Kai. But I was wrong. The hall was silent. Viraya continued. During the raid, I saw true strength in someone many of us ignored. He didn't shout. He didn't show off. He just stood between danger and the people who needed help. She walked up to Kai and stood in front of him. I challenged you once, she said. I believed no human could match me. I gave you my strongest hit and you blocked it. Kai gave a small smile. I remember. Viraya did something no one expected. She dropped to one knee and placed her hand over her chest, a deep sign of respect in her culture. The hall gasped softly. It was a warrior's acknowledgement, a silent way of saying, "You are my equal." Kai's smile faded into seriousness. He stepped forward and gently raised her back to her feet. You didn't have to do that, he said. I did, Viraya answered. Because you taught me something more important than how to fight. She paused, then said clearly, You taught me how to stand. After the ceremony, the hall slowly emptied. Officers returned to duty. Engineers went back to their tools. Soldiers walked with new purpose. But Kai and Viraya stayed behind. They sat together near the window watching the stars. Viraya asked, What will you do now? Kai shrugged. Keep helping. Maybe teach others what I know. Maybe fix a few broken engines, nothing fancy. You could lead a team, she said. I don't need a title to lead, he replied. She looked at him, thoughtful. You remind me of old warriors from my home, the ones who didn't seek glory but still became legends. Kai laughed a little. I don't think I'm a legend. Maybe not yet, Viraya said, but you've changed this place. People look at humans differently now. Because of you. He stayed quiet for a moment, then said, That means more than a medal. Viraya nodded. You've made me better too. I thought I knew everything about strength, but I was still learning. They sat in silence again, the stars glowing gently in the distance. Over the next few days, life on the station returned to normal, but not completely. More aliens joined Kai's training sessions, not just to learn how to fight, but to learn how to think, breathe, and move with purpose. Even officers who once ignored him began asking for advice. Kai never acted like a hero. He never spoke like a commander. But his actions had changed the entire station. And Viraya, she became his strongest supporter. She trained beside him. She stood up for him when others questioned. And she admitted to anyone who asked that he had taught her more in a few days than many warriors had taught her in years. One afternoon, as they finished another training session, Varela looked at Kai and said, "If I ever return to my world, I want you to come with me." Kai blinked. "Why?" "I want my people to meet the human who taught a Valari warrior to see strength in silence." Kai smiled. "Maybe one day." She grinned back. "Just don't block any more of my punches. I'm still recovering from the last one." They both laughed. That night, Kai stood alone in the hallway, looking out at the stars once more. He had come to this station as an engineer, someone who repaired broken things. But maybe, he thought, sometimes the most important things to fix aren't machines, they're hearts, minds, beliefs, and sometimes you fix them not by force but by standing quietly, showing the truth and never backing down. In that moment, Kai didn't feel weak. He didn't feel small. He felt proud, and he knew, deep in his bones, that the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stand still and not fall.